engineers and also with tech staff.
Do you have a time frame though for that?
Again, sir?
Do you have a time frame for that, Jesse?
As soon as I get the engineer reports, and sometimes.
Because I was at one of the meetings here several months back where they requested that from you.
And we've been working on that, and
it seems like it's just dragging on, so.
On the water drainage report, that we're still looking at. We'll do it as soon as we can.
Okay.
Any other comments from you?
I have one. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Come forward, Sarah.
Do we know what percentage of this budget can be directly calculated as to actually doing something to develop economics or really economic development? I don't see the parks as generating revenue. I don't see those things. But do you have a percentage point that tells us exactly what portion of this budget is going directly to economic development? Not
Everything that we do in the budget goes for economic development. Promotion, what we do running the office, answering the phones, answering reports that we get from our website on different projects, continuing to improve our websites. The work that we're doing out at the business park, working with the different businesses there. The infrastructure on US 181, working with McCoy and other companies that are trying to come into Floresville.
But how much of the parks things are actually going to generate revenue or going to help with economic development?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that last part.
Well, how do you assign a dollar value to the parks development as being part of the economic development?
Oh, well, that's as a result of what's needed to be done out there. If we need to build a road or we need to build an entryway in conjunction with the TechStat engineers and our own engineers as to what is needed and then how to make that road safer for all the companies that are going to be out there, then we come up with estimates as to what it's going to take.
Okay. I don't think you understand the question, but that's okay. Good enough.
I'm going to recommend that you not approve this because this is no budget like I've ever seen. Really, if we're going to do a project, it needs to be listed underneath exactly where every single penny is going to. This is absurd. It sounds like the numbers are being pulled from the sky. Are they realistic? It doesn't sound like it.
Any other comments before we take a vote? Yes.
Colonel Phillips, please. I'd like to ask you a question regarding the existing parks. You've allocated $125,000 to renovate some of the existing parks. And the one I'm going to use as an example is Candaranas Park. Why do we keep pumping money into that park?
Thank you very much. Perfect question.
Well, we bought that land about 8 years ago and started working on it, cleared it up. It was a dump site basically, so it needed to be cleaned up. And we've done that pretty well now. The school district has given us some playground equipment we're working on, and we're working to renovate it and paint it up and fix it and then install it here. Also, that's an 8-acre site, so in the back, in the last 2-3 acres in the back, we're building a softball field. And we cleared the trees, cleared the shrubs, leveled the land, and perhaps with an additional $5,000 or $6,000, and to put in the field, the sod, and build a backstop. Then that field can be used, for softball, for people that just want to go out there and play baseball, and not interfere with the Little League and all the other leagues that we have in the area.
And I understand that, but how do you control the air?
I'm sorry?
It's next to the sewer plant. How do you control the air?
I go there all the time. There's people that live next to the sewer plant.
It's not that bad.
I don't smell anything when I get there, and I think the city water crews and the sewer plant people that you have appear to be doing a good enough job. And there's been very few times when you get any kind of whiff of anything coming from the sewer
And the
plant.
reason I'm bringing this up is because I've been approached by citizens of the city about
I can't answer about the sewer plant, ma'am, but I think you can talk to your sewer
No,
plant.
but the idea is pumping money into that to enhance that park when we really ought to do something else other than a park.
Jesse, may I make a suggestion? I think you and I spoke once before, right? But I think that would be perfect for a dog park.
And that's the thing, you
Yeah,
can.
fix it up for a dog farm, you know. So, we might look into that.
Can I just make a,
Excuse me, we have to keep down the comments. You have comments inside, take them outside. Stand up, be noticed. Thank you.
But that's something to continue looking at, and I know we talked about it, right, you know, and never really came up with any kind of figures of what it would take to build
Yeah,
something.
'cause I just don't, looking after these last couple of years, I just don't believe that the public will go there for the purposes that it was intended for.
Yeah.
But I think if we work with the city and continue to, you know, cooperate, then we might be able to make something that's good and worthwhile and people
Right.
will use
Well,
on.
we'll change the objective of what it's used for. The other question that I have for you, Colonel, is a hike and bike trail, is that what you call it?
I'm sorry?
The hike and bike trail, is that the
Yes.
name of the trail? What is going to be done about the surface, because you really cannot walk on it without having to go home and put your feet in hot water?
Yeah, there are some areas that, you know, we probably need to put some, base material on it, you know, basically what we use on the roads. And then use the machines to go over and level it out, take out some of the rocks that are in there. And some of that is due to the fact that, when we first started building that, we used some materials, which were recycled, road materials that had been given to us by TxDOT through the county. And we used those to kind of patch up some of the holes that were in the trail. Through the years, those have come back up. But we would have to go back and blade it really good and come back and put some base material on it and then make it level and, you know, maybe 4 to 5 inches of base material, which would make it level enough that you wouldn't feel the rocks underneath.
But that's not really realistic with $125,000 to enhance the
I'm sorry.
river. With an amount you budgeted, $125,000, these extra areas, it's really not realistic for that to be done in 2013.
We could take a look at it and see if, you know, there's a way that we could do that, and working with the city, you know, we might be able to get some assistance from them, and then maybe start taking it a block at a time, where we could do that, you know, and then hopefully do it and keep the cost down.
Do we know how much the river authority is going to charge yet as part of this $125,000? Do we know how much the river authority is going to charge
The
us?
river authority hasn't charged us anything. They've done all the engineer work for free. They spent upwards of about $75,000 to $80,000 to do that engineer work. What they do for us doesn't cost us. What we have to do is pay for the work, hire our own contractors at their recommendation that they know can do that work. The initial number that they gave us was $350,000 that we would have to spend. Now, that's the initial report, and that's from one engineer company. What they're doing now is looking at the engineer report again, got a different set of engineers, and trying to see if they can give us a number that's more economical and still does all the work that we need to do.
Thank you.
Council,
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment.
yes.
Waiting. I tend to agree with Mr. Zombie about the budget. Colonel, I appreciate all the work that you've done for the community, but, you know, when we see $350,000 for Rancho Grande and it's not broken down as to what we're going to be able to accomplish for that $350,000. We talked about $125,000 and we've talked about one estimate of $350,000 to do the river improvements. We've talked about structures, we've talked about softball fields, we've talked about the hike and bike trail, we've talked about another park where we could build soccer fields. All of those things can't be accomplished for that $125,000. I think I would like to see, as a citizen, a breakout of what we're going to be able to reasonably do in this budget for Rancho Grande, for the parks, etc.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Miller hasn't quite heard, and I'm deaf in both ears, so I have a hard time hearing everybody. Sometimes the acoustics of the room bother me. But I didn't say that 125,000 was gonna cover everything that we're doing. I said that was an amount that was, my board had set aside. We're keeping it there so that, you know, we can start planning, we can start looking at things, that we need to work on. The Rancho Grande, 350,000 that we have is work that we need to do out there. And I will give, a detailed breakdown like I gave the board, provided to the council and the mayor and then the city manager, and we can post it on the website and see what we're gonna do. There's no way that you can say, okay, 125,000, it's a question about arithmetic. Hell, it don't add up, right? And you don't have to be deaf to know that. But I'll give you the numbers for revenue. And again, I have been discussing this other thing, a dog park, where you have a park dedicated to people that have pets, that can, a dog run, I believe it's called.
Well, you got a lot of pet lovers, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll
And you have
volunteer.
different sized animals, that dogs that you can bring out there, and you have an area where you can let them run, and the big dogs don't interact with the little dogs, you know, so those are things some other cities around here have done. So, you know, those are all ideas, but, you know, we can discuss, like you said at the beginning, and I think the city manager, you know, appropriately put it, we can discuss and agree, or we can agree to disagree, or we can disagree flat out. But I think as long as we keep talking, we can make this work.
Colonel, how many people on the FEDC board?
I'm sorry, sir?
How many people are on the FEDC board?
We have 7 members on the board.
How many of them were present at the budget? Just how many? I don't even know who.
5 members of them.
5 members are present.
Yes.
Did any of them, any of the 5 members that were there that day, did any of them protest this budget? Did anyone vote? What was the vote for that night?
It was a unanimous vote.
Did they see the numbers?
Yes.
Take her down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, President Mendoza. Are we ready for a vote, council? Recommendation by staff. Andy, what do you recommend? Approval by our city manager.
I make the motion to approve the 2012-2013 operating budget of the Floresville Economic Development Corporation and setting a retroactive effective date of the beginning of fiscal year being October 1st, 2012.
Motion by Gomez, is there a second?
I second.
Second by Flores, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Next item, consideration action to appoint members to the Floresville EDC. Do we have a vacancy, Colonel? Sarah?
We don't, I don't have a vacancy, right?
On FEDC, we have 1 vacancy.
Okay. Is the council
Make the motion to
Make a
table.
motion to table?
I have a nominee.
A motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint Mary Helen Teakin to the FEDC board.
Motion by Councilman Guerrero to appoint Mary Helen Teakin to the EDC. I'm sorry, is there a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
Mayor, and who's the vacancy? Who stepped down to create the vacancy?
Who will step down?
Ms. Rebecca Silva.
Rebecca Silva. Any other action on the item 3F, council?
I would vote to table.
Motion by Castillo to table, is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Lobos to table, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-1. Consideration action to set a date to hear an appeal at 624 4th Street.
Mayor, just want to clear it up. We need a date to set the appeal in motion, but we need to have a 10-day notice to send letters to all the property owners within 200 feet and to do publications in the paper. So we need to have at least 10 days if we're looking for a date.
Can we do it at our next council meeting, which would be the, 25th? let's have a motion for the 25th, which will be our next regular meeting. Is that correct? It's a Thursday, right? Is there a motion? To set-
That we have our next,
No.
council meeting on the 25th of October.
No, to set the appeal date.
And and this is for the hearing, I believe it's just for the hearing, is that?
The hearing on the bill.
Yes.
So you want a motion to set the date
For the
appeal
hearing,
at 624 4th Street on the 25th
yes.
of October.
Is there a second to that motion? Motion by Castillo, second by Guerrero, to set the hearing date for October 25th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 4-0. Item 4, executive session pursuant to section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, interim employment, evaluation, reassignment, new use, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, the city manager. I'm going to ask the council and our city attorney to join us in closed session. Then I'll ask our current city secretary and our previous city secretary to join us in just a few seconds. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I move that we go into closed session.
Actually, motion by Castillo, second by Flores. Go into closed session. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. The time is 8:10. 8:11.
Well, the council goes to closed session, you can turn on your phone.